I'm playing Fortnite again, and nobody can stop me. But of course, we're not just going to be playing Fortnite. We are going to instead be reviewing this video. Now, for those of you who don't know, Libs of TikTok, basically the top dog when it comes to spreading anti-LGBT bullshit on Twitter. They call themselves Libs of TikTok, and apparently they claim to repost a bunch of liberal TikToks. Most of the time, they're just like obscure random TikToks of trans people just saying stuff, and then it's posted on this page with a bunch of dumb conservatives that follow it, saying stuff like, "This LGBT groomer wants to force kids to be gay." Dun dun dun. And so Taylor Lorenz, who is also a controversial reporter, confronted the Libs of TikTok page owner, Shaya Rashik. Wow. That is the most foreign sounding name for the most basic looking white girl ever. I'm not gonna lie. "Hello, I am Shaya Rashik. Standard white woman from Long Island."
Of course. Oh my gosh, the struggles of LA, I swear. Okay, well now that we're going, so thank you so much for meeting. First of all, I saw Seth Dillon today saying that you guys are no longer affiliated. What happened with there? I know that he invested in you early, was a huge supporter of you. What happened to that relationship?
Just parted ways.
For what reason?
Personal reasons.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What, you didn't align
Totally amicable. I love Seth.
Yeah.
He's a great mentor.
So why wouldn't you want him involved, or why isn't he involved in the business anymore?
Just personal reasons. I'm not going to get into it.
Oh, okay. When did that sort of break off?
Recently.
So how many staffers? Tell me a little bit more about your organization.
We are a small team, just a couple people.
And it's all distributed?
Why are her answers so boring? "We're just a small team." Okay, and what does this small team of a few people do? Can you elaborate a little bit? Why is she speaking so blandly? Probably because she knows that the less she speaks, the better it is for her, because she's very stupid.
It's what?
It's all distributed, as in it's all remote, pretty much? Or do you guys have an office space?
It's remote, yeah.
Got it. So when did you start, I guess, what got you into all this? I've always wanted to ask you. I know, I wrote about sort of the history of your Twitter account, but how did you get involved in politics?
If you watch any of my interviews, I talk about this all the time. But just, COVID.
You're doing an interview right now. Just the most basic question she's like stumped by.
It radicalized me.
Yeah. In what way?
And they were like forcing us to wear masks and not letting us leave our homes.
Yeah.
And, not letting us work and people losing their jobs. And then people now forcing a vaccine, an experimental vaccine, people dying from the vaccine.
It's not an experimental vaccine. Literally, by the definition of the very word experimental, this vaccine was not experimental. Second of all, where are people dying from the vaccine? I would actually like an example of one person who died specifically from the COVID vaccine, not just somebody that died and happened to also be vaccinated, please.
So how did that get you interested in LGBTQ issues?
Yeah, also imagine that stuff getting you radicalized. You're like, you know what? I believe that it is my God-given American right to be a plague rat. And if I am going to have anyone stand in this way, then I'm going to declare war on the entire LGBT mafia.
It got me interested in politics. And then once I was interested in politics, I stumbled upon this whole movement, and I was absolutely appalled by what I was seeing.
Appalled by what?
The radicalization of it, the way that they come after our most innocent and vulnerable population, or kids. The way that it makes there's nothing logical about it. There's nothing logical about chopping off kids' body parts. There's nothing logical about giving kids porn in school. There's two sexes, and that's it. So, anything out of that, it's just based on lies and nonsense.
Okay, one, kids' body parts getting chopped off. I will assure you that if that is happening, if it's happening in such small, minuscule numbers. It is not this this massive issue that she's trying to make it out to be. However, if we want to throw her a bone and say, fine, maybe at some points there's a medical malpractice or people act inappropriately or whatnot, fine, then you can bring that up. That can be a valid concern, but that is a concern with the medical field. That's not a concern with trans people. That has nothing to do with the logic of the decision. Could just be that they were too young for that decision, despite the fact that that is the best treatment once you are an adult, if you're suffering from gender dysphoria.
Yeah. Did you grow up, I know you grew up in a sort of a more conservative community. Did you know any
Even if it happened once, it's evil. Okay, then it's also evil if it even happens once that a trans person is denied life-saving medical care. Okay, if you can concede that, then I'll concede yours.
LGBTQ people growing up? What was your exposure to that community just in life prior to sort of understanding the world through politics?
I never really paid attention to it.
So you didn't have any LGBTQ friends or anything,
No.
family members?
No.
So your first exposure to the LGBTQ world was through basically learning about it through the media ecosystem?
Through themselves, actually. They would say exactly what their intentions are, what their whole movement is about.
Uh-huh.
So I learned about it through watching their own videos.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What sort of videos were you watching? I mean, are you just talking about the TikToks that you share and stuff?
And tons more on TikTok. It's all over TikTok.
Yeah.
Very easy to find.
Yeah. I'm curious.
Okay, see, notice even how she's talking about, like, I can find it out from watching their videos. Like, this isn't a organized, centralized LGBT incorporated, okay? These are random gay people and trans people making videos, and then you're watching them being like, this is what the entire group thinks based on, like, randomized videos. I only learned about them from watching random TikToks. Also, she just was, like, asserting things. She's like, there's nothing logical about this. There's nothing logical about that. Why? Elaborate, please. You can't just say something's not logical and then just move on. But that's exactly what she's done.
I feel like there's been, especially on, my colleagues have done great reporting on sort of like this rift on Twitter. I know that you have a very conservative fan base, and in your comments sometimes you'll see a lot of commentary about sort of the great replacement theory. What are your thoughts on that?
What are your thoughts on the comments on your post telling me to kill myself?
Horrible. Yeah, horrible. Obviously against that. Yeah.
So would you come out and condemn that publicly?
Oh, I would condemn it anytime. I'm against murdering anyone, of course.
So you're against death threats against me?
I'm a big, as somebody that's dealt with a lot of online harassment, I don't defend threatening to murder anyone. But I guess I'm curious,
because a lot of times
I like how the Libs of TikTok lady was like, so are you willing to condemn this thing? Oh yeah, absolutely. That was really bad. Are you willing to do it publicly? Oh yeah, absolutely. That was really bad. And then she's still just not conceding the other thing.
it comes after an attack in the media, like someone like you or another journalist.
So are you saying that, like, if somebody posts something and then attacks follow, that person should answer for those attacks?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that people like you tell me that all the time, so I'm just asking if you think the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think I have said that here, but I think it's kind of interesting, I guess, in the conservative movement, there's this ideology around sort of white nationalism, which is obviously kind of a hardline ideology that's generally been pretty critical of Jewish communities. And I'm wondering, as a Jewish woman, how do you feel about sort of aligning yourself with those people and accounts? You see this sort of rhetoric in your replies, and I only bring it up, I'm not saying that you necessarily endorse that rhetoric, I would imagine that you don't, but how do you kind of think about those nuances when you're thinking about kind of the audience that you're building?
Some of your audience says we should top off kids' body parts. What do you think about that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like a girl says she wants to be a boy, so she tops off her breasts.
I'm a big, I believe in personal liberty and bodily autonomy personally.
So kids should be able to cut off their breasts if they think that they're boys.
I mean, I believe in gender ideology. I guess I personally, my feeling is that I believe in personal liberty. I grew up in a town where a lot of people, for their middle school graduation, women got nose jobs. I knew somebody that got a boob job at age 14. And I guess I struggle to kind of understand the criticism when there's certainly no criticism of that sort of thing, right? But then there's criticism of this other sort of gender affirming, stuff. So
you're comparing a boy being allowed to chop off his penis to a teenage girl getting a nose job?
Well, just to be extra clear.
Why are conservatives they are so creepily obsessed with kids' private parts? It's actually disturbing to me. Like, it is straight up creepy as if Libs of TikTok Karen is gonna call LGBT people groomers for simply just like existing as a gay person or as a trans person in the vicinity of children, then I think I'm gonna start calling her a creep for constantly talking about kids' private area. Yeah.
Sure. I don't believe that 13-year-olds are able to make those sort of medical decisions.
Minors are, yeah.
Oh, really? And where?
Yeah. Children's National Hospital in D.C. gives 16-year-olds hysterectomies.
Oh, 16-year-olds.
They gave me that. They told me that directly.
So I actually am aware of this, and I mean, it doesn't really matter where you stand on it, because even if you disagree with that, if you think that's too young, then again, it's an issue with the medical community. This doesn't mean that trans people are all bad. Just like how there are sometimes people are put on antidepressants prematurely or too quickly, or kids are given ADHD meds when they shouldn't be. That doesn't mean everybody who has ADHD is faking it. That doesn't mean ADHD ideology is lying to kids. Like, there's nuance here, and this brain-dead girl does not understand nuance very clearly.
They said 16 girls and younger, that's what they said. So hysterectomies, there are definitely minors, I know for sure as young as 12, who are getting double mastectomies. They definitely allow vaginoplasties for minors, and phalloplasties. I'm not aware of a specific case of a minor, but they allow 18-year-olds,
Yeah, which has, you know, okay, 18-year-olds, you're an adult. But let's just get back to the great replacement stuff, because I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that whole ideology?
I'm not aware of any other case with a minor or anything, but over the age of 18, I have lots of those examples. Okay.
I mean, how many? There were times that there were some months over the past 3 years that there were more illegals coming into our border than children being born in the U.S. Does that not look like they're trying to replace us?
I guess sort of imagine America as a melting pot. Isn't that sort of what America was founded on?
No, but they're actually bringing in more people than are actually being born.
Okay, hold on. But before we go into whatever schizo rant she's onto now, let me pull this up really quickly. From PolitiFact, Ron DeSantis made a similar claim. They are literally chopping off the private parts of young kids. PolitiFact says it's mostly false. We found no examples of young kids receiving transition-related surgery. The Florida Department of Health differentiates between children under 10 and adolescents. Between 10 and 18, DeSantis' office provided PolitiFact with 2 cases involving adolescents. That is not true under any existing medical guidelines, said Dr. Jack Turbin, assistant professor of child and adolescent psychiatry at the University of California. No medical or surgical interventions are considered for prepubertal children. Okay, the governor's office sent PolitiFact 2 examples of people who received transition-related surgeries in their mid to late teen years, one at 15 and one at 17. I think that might still be too young, though, and it's okay to think that, because, again, this doesn't invalidate trans people or the validity. It doesn't mean that the people who even got these surgeries, if they were too young, doesn't mean that they weren't really trans or anything either. In one case, DeSantis provided an individual from California receiving masculinizing chest surgery at 15. Under existing California law, an insurer cannot deny coverage for the surgery, which includes double mastectomies, based on a patient's age alone. The procedure is mostly offered to teenagers 15 and older. However, we found one report of a 14-year-old. Okay. Yeah, so, like, that would be too young. Like, that's just too young to be making those kinds of decisions. The guidelines for the medical care of transgender patients, developed by the Endocrine Society and the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, said that genital reassignment surgery should be reserved for those 18 and older, according to guidelines. Okay, so maybe they have a couple one-off examples of people under the age of 18 getting mastectomies, which we can talk about whether or not that's too young or not, but again, quite a big difference, quite a stretch. You have like 2 or 3 examples over the course of like 10 years of people under the age of 18 getting mastectomies. That is not the same as young kids are having their genitals just chopped off. It's just not true. It's not the same thing.
So I guess it sounds like you sort of do ascribe to this theory of the Great Replacement. How does that make
I just
you
look at
feel?
the facts and the numbers.
Well, so, I mean, just let's give a corollary, right? A lot of Jewish people fled, Europe, came over here also as
If there's more people coming in that are being born, so what? Why does that matter? It only matters if you're a weird freak obsessed with how many white people are in the country. So the Great Replacement theory is literally exactly what this Libs of TikTok dumb just said. The belief that they, whoever they are, the Jews, the Democrats, I don't know, maybe both, they are trying to bring a lot of brown people in so that they can get rid of the white man. That is literally what the Great Replacement believes, and that's what this lady just said. Well, they're bringing more people in than are being born. The only reason you would give a fuck about that is if you're concerned about the fact that more brown people are coming in than white people are being born. And I don't know why you care about this, unless you're a racist weirdo, which I guess maybe she is.
And there's a lot of criticism towards Jewish people in those movements, in those far-right movements. So I'm just wondering, as a Jewish woman, sort of how you feel about that and your role in cultivating this fan base that might think of you as a minority, an outsider.
Not all cultures are equal. Yeah.
What?
So I know you have a lot of concerns about educational materials and books, library books and things.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Especially.
What was that answer? Not all cultures are equal. Sure. Conservative culture, for example, is consisting mainly of hillbillies and inbred white girls like you. I guess liberal culture is probably better than conservative culture, but still, how does it make you feel as a Jewish woman to be cultivating a fan base that might view you as a minority, as someone who is involved in replacing the white people, and they might then look at you as a bad person, as something that needs to be gotten rid of, somebody that needs to be done away with? How does that make you feel? Well, not all cultures are equal. Okay, what?
They're importing people who want to destroy America.
Yeah, you're right.
And
With
who-
the way she smugly smiled, you're right, chat. She was probably hinting at white culture is the best.
Who come here and do not stand for what America stands for. So, and I think, and we
You literally don't want people to exist in public being gay, living their lives freely. America is all about freedom and personal liberty and the pursuit of happiness. You don't stand with what America stands for. You stand against it. And you're fear-mongering about immigrants. Immigrants assimilate at very high rates, okay? Higher rates than you dumb bitches seem to.
see it. There's time after time after time after time. They come in, they're destroying our cities, they bring crime with them, and they are bringing them in to replace us. And
Who's they?
Yeah, I think people.
Please, who is they? If it ain't white, then they are involved in bringing them in to replace us. Well, that'll never happen on my watch.
From various countries, they're all different.
So, just back to the sort of education stuff, I know that you're interested in removing a bunch of books from libraries that you consider inappropriate. I was just wondering, out of all the books that you've sort of tried to get removed, how many have you read?
I've read a couple of them.
Which ones?
Gender queer.
Uh-huh.
I've read This Book is Gay.
Uh-huh.
I've read Flamer. I've read, what were some of the other ones? My Shadow is Pink. There's so many more. Tons of them.
How do you kind of square, would you say, I feel like you are, or at least I feel like you've spoken about free speech before and the need for free speech and sort of supported Elon Musk's sentiments in that area. Would you say that you're a free speech supporter?
Yeah.
So how do you square the sort of being this free speech supporter with wanting to ban literature?
What kind of literature?
Any kind of literature. I mean, I would think that
What kind of literature am I trying to ban?
Oh, I thought you were just trying to say you've made an effort to get books removed from schools.
What kind of books?
Books dealing with LGBTQ people and sexual
No, that's
education.
not what I said.
Oh, so you're not trying to get any books banned from school?
That's not what I said either.
Okay, why don't you explain to me how you're thinking about this?
You just accused me of wanting to ban books. What kind of books am I trying to ban?
You tell me.
I'm not trying to ban anything.
But you're not trying to ban any books.
Who said I'm trying to ban books?
Are you trying to remove books from libraries?
From public school libraries.
Okay.
Holy shit. Okay, yeah, no, she's just retarded. She's retarded and bad faith.
Free speech and free expression and allowing all of that stuff with wanting literature removed and wanting access to information removed.
What kind of literature?
You tell me.
Porn. Gay porn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Gay
what do you consider
porn.
gay porn?
Wait, are you saying that gay porn are in public libraries?
So you want to see it?
Are you talking about the stuff that you've tweeted, basically? You consider
Yeah,
it
like there's
inappropriate.
pictures of like blowjobs and like how to have gay sex with like naked people and people masturbating and stuff. Yeah.
Did you?
Like pictures of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. And
Yeah.
I went to public school. And we had a sex ed class in public school where we were shown, information about sexual health and, sex and masturbation and things like that. I'm curious about your own education. I mean, was that something did you ever go to a sex ed class, or is this all sort of new to you where you're sort of learning about how this works in public schools?
I don't live under a rock.
So you did have sex ed classes when you were growing up?
We had some kind of education, yeah.
Uh-huh. So you do think it's important for children to have education?
Not the way they're doing it in public schools.
Uh-huh. How are they doing it?
They're giving kids porn and telling third graders that they should masturbate.
What? What school are you going to? I'm sorry. Maybe they have like 2 or 3 little one-off anecdotes or something. There is no like statewide sex education course that schools are teaching that has porn and telling kids to masturbate. My God, that is just gross. Can I have an example? One state, please. Tell me the state where that is the standard sex ed. Please. Not just like this one teacher who was then fired did this one bad thing. No, tell me where it's actually happening, like constantly.
They're giving middle school children guides to gay sex and anal sex, sex toys.
How would you describe the type of sex education that you would like to see in schools?
At this point, I want all sex education actually removed from schools because I don't trust the schools to do it.
Okay.
After what we've seen, I don't trust them at all. Zero. We need to completely eradicate it and then redo it in a normal way that's appropriate.
So I saw you said that you got banned from Stripe today. How much money did you have tied up in that platform?
I'm not going to get into that. Mm-hmm. They already.
That actually is a very, very groomer take indeed. Yeah, she doesn't want kids to have sex ed. So keep in mind that age-appropriate sex education is really important because that's how kids learn quickly to report if they are being sexually abused in any way. A lot of the times, sick adults take advantage of kids because they're ignorant. They don't know. But sex education changes that. It makes it so that kids are less likely to be victimized and then not report it purely because they won't be as ignorant to what was actually happening to them. So it's incredibly important for kids to receive age-appropriate sex education. No, that doesn't mean giving them porn. What that means, though, is that they should have general knowledge of anatomy and then, depending on their age, etc. But still, for this person to say that they don't want kids to have any sex ed, she calls LGBT people groomers. That is a hardcore groomer take right there.
Notice, I think it was around last summer, you deleted a lot of your tweets and you kind of stopped posting. This is when Seth Dillon kind of tweeted, asking if you fell off or, saying that you weren't posting as you used to. What happened during that time, and did you think about quitting?
I have no idea. And no, I never thought about quitting.
Mm-hmm. Why'd you delete all your old posts?
It was just a one-time editorial decision. I stand by all my posts.
What?
I guess speaking of deleting posts, you still have a post up accusing the Uvalde shooter of being trans. Obviously, that's been debunked.
Yeah, there's a community note on it.
So why not remove that post if you're so comfortable with removing posts?
Because there's a community note. I think it's clear. It's obviously it was unintentional. There was a watermark on it. It was from a meme, an account that was going around. And I'm glad there's a community note so people know that.
Do you believe if, say, a journalist posts something factually incorrect or wrong, especially about someone else, somebody was to say something factually wrong about you, do you believe they should remove that, or do you think they should be able to keep that content up?
Twitter is free speech. People lie about me all the time on there, and they don't get taken down. If you want, it has to go both ways.
So you believe that people should be allowed to keep up wrong information about you, and
why does it
have no recourse, be able to keep that up?
Free speech is free speech.
Okay, so I'm kind of curious how you square that with the letter that you sent this morning to V Sphere, claiming that you were going to try to sue her for slander.
Oh no, called out, dude. How did she find the letter?
If free speech is free speech, then why are you threatening your critics with lawsuits?
Well, defamation is different.
So would you
She just got done
call
saying
misidentifying a shooter's sexuality defamation?
No, I wouldn't. Like I said, there's already a community note on it, so I'm glad that people now.
And you admit that it's wrong, right? Was the Uvalde
yeah,
shooter
and
trans?
I wasn't the creator of that image.
Sure, but you can imagine if somebody amplified wrong information.
The media, like Washington Post and other places, they lie all the time. They're never held accountable. They never remove it. They lie,
Massive
lie.
deflection.
So.
Hardcore deflection, not to mention syndicated media is literally held to certain journalistic standards that if they violate repeatedly, if they spread fake news, they could lose their job. There is way more at stake for syndicated journals, for syndicated journalists, excuse me. So for her to, one, just randomly deflect is cringe, and two, she deflects to something that's not even true.
I am not gonna. If you want to hold me to that level, then I get to hold you to that level as well, and all the other media. So I just don't think it's not accurate to compare it because.
Was the Uvalde shooter trans?
The Uvalde shooter wasn't trans.
Got it. And so I guess knowing that you posted wrong information, you're saying it should stay up, and everybody else should be allowed to keep whatever they have up as well. Is that sort of your stance? Am I accurately understanding it?
Is there a law against?
No, I'm not asking law. I'm just asking your personal sort of opinion. I'm just kind of curious because it seems like you have come after other people, such as V Sphere and other critics, saying you posted wrong information about me, take it down. I totally get that. That's your prerogative.
It's different with defaming a journalist like that. They're defaming me.
And you don't think that calling a shooter trans when they weren't trans is defaming anyone?
No.
Okay, interesting. I guess
they're knowingly lying about me.
But now you're knowing.
And what would you say that you did when you sort of posted that about the shooter being trans?
Like I said, an image that was going around for months that I shared from another thing accidentally, and I'm glad there's a community note on it.
I know you come from a more traditional family and sort of a more traditional culture. What is your family and think of your success? You've made a huge career for yourself. You're obviously a rising star in conservative media. How's that affected your interpersonal relationships?
I'm not going to get personal. I'm going to get into my personal relationships.
Yeah. How's it affected your life? I mean, just dealing with this sort of fame relatively overnight.
So, I mean, thanks and partly to you, there's been a lot of death threats, a lot of really nasty messages.
But you seem kind of proud about the press that you've received. I mean, your profile picture is holding up a newspaper with you in the headline.
Yeah, a newspaper where they just basically...
Wait, chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't Libs of TikTok literally been responsible for getting bomb threats made to entire LGBT conferences and shit? I'm pretty sure her page has been responsible for so much more than just death threats here and there. Yeah, and a children's hospital. Oh my god, that's right. Her followers called in a bunch of bomb threats to a children's hospital. But it's really hard. I got a death threat on Twitter because I was defaming a bunch of trans people consistently for my job. Boo-hoo, don't you feel sorry for me? We don't.
That they just continue to make up these lies and libels.
You've gotten even if you discount the mainstream media and just talk about the conservative media, I think your platform has risen pretty significantly. What changes has it had on you? I mean, I cover the content creator industry, and I've seen a lot of people go from sort of a very low-key life, which I would imagine you were living before, to a massive amount of attention and, money and powerful people around you. How has that affected you?
Like I said, some safety issues. In part thanks to you and to some other members of the media. But I'm not going to get into my personal life.
Oh, no, not about your personal life. I'm just wondering about your career aspirations. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
We'll see. You can make all the plans you want, and God could decide something else.
So you don't have any sort of 5-year plan, 10-year plan?
I mean, I have plans, but nothing I'm going to share.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, if Trump was reelected, would you be interested in a job with his administration?
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Who are you supporting in the election?
There's one candidate, Trump. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Will you be campaigning on his behalf?
We'll see.
Are you hoping to kind of, would you see yourself in DC?
I haven't made any plans yet.
How did you get connected with Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma?
Because I started posting about the stuff going on in schools there, like I do across the country. And then, people were very upset that this was happening in their schools.
So, and you've been once. What do you think qualifies you to be on the board or, have to do with education, the education system there? Being that I don't believe you have children in the Oklahoma schools, you don't live in Oklahoma, you've only been once. How does that qualify you to sort of serve in that capacity?
What are the qualifications that they require to be on this committee?
USA Today reported on that, but I believe it was that you had to, I might get it wrong, but I think you have to be some sort of educator. You have to have worked as an educator.
Okay, I was a teacher once.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay. So you feel like that qualifies you to sort of inform policies in Oklahoma?
I wasn't aware of any kind of qualifications that they require. I don't believe they require any qualifications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking more even just informally. But that makes sense.
She wants to help decide things for Oklahoma despite not living there? She's this obsessed with trans people, with preventing people from learning that trans people exist? She's this dedicated? She's just like a wild card, man. She's just like, you know what? Sometimes I just want to see the world burn. But I'm going to start with Oklahoma.
I guess, speaking of Oklahoma, obviously we saw the tragic death of Nex, a young child.
Tragic.
I'm curious about your reaction. You posted a selfie shortly after people were asking you to address the issue, and you said, to the haters and the losers. Who are you addressing in that statement?
Anyone who hates me and anyone who's a loser.
Okay. Why would you choose to post that in response to people asking you to speak about this child's death?
It was not a response to that.
I guess, why would you post that prior to making any statement about Nex's death?
So, just to be clear, you're trying to police me on when I'm allowed to post selfies?
No, just curious.
I wanted to post it. I thought it was a cute picture, and I just decided to post it.
How do you feel about Nex's death?
It's very tragic. It's horrible.
Do you believe Nex should have been allowed to receive gender-affirming care?
she should not be allowed to go on irreversible puberty blockers or get sex change surgery.
How do you think about the fact that, so often your posts, things that you post about hospitals, libraries, schools, etc., after you make these posts about them, they deal with threats, sometimes bomb threats, sometimes harassment.
Thank you for bringing that up.
We don't know who's calling in the threats. And I mean, look, bomb threats are bad. I've said that 1,000 times. People who call in bomb threats should be arrested and investigated. You can't call in bomb threats. But I just don't know what does it have to do with.
Well, I guess, a recent NBC investigation found at least 33 instances where you posted about a specific person or institution, and that person or institution was immediately bombarded with death threats and violent threats, including bomb threats, other violent threats. That's a pretty significant correlation. How do you,
really
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but I got like tons of death threats.
Wait, okay, so fucking what? We don't care about you getting death threats, okay? Maybe you deserve them. But the point is that you're bringing death threats upon people in mass amounts. This is a little bigger than just like, a couple people said that you should KYS on Twitter, ooh. Like, this is full-blown bomb threats. And now an investigation found that you're significantly correlated with those threats and your posts.
This week after the entire media machine came after me. So are they responsible for those?
I don't think that there's the same correlation. Are you receiving bomb threats?
I'm receiving death threats. Like, hi, I'm going to come murder you.
Yeah, and I definitely sympathize with you there.
Like,
I get those
literally,
every day.
The article goes live and then I get those threats.
I get the same thing when a Fox News article goes live.
So is the journalist responsible? The journalist who posted the article?
I would say, there's a different responsibility when we're talking about media. And I guess to me, a death threat is different than a violent bomb threat. A death threat, I think we're kind of getting normalized to them, unfortunately, online. We get a lot of them. Probably you and I get them constantly, 24/7. I'm wondering kind of how you think about taking these obscure people, right? Because you and I are both public figures, and I imagine you and I we have a high tolerance, right, for what we can handle online. Say you're taking a private citizen, a gay teacher, for instance, in a small town, and you post about that person, and then that person subsequently, who had no media presence prior, receives pretty violent threats. How does that make you feel?
We need to answer the question first, though. Is the journalist responsible for actions that have to happen after?
So you consider sort of your posts about private citizens, incendiary posts, you consider that journalism?
I'm an independent journalist.
Uh-huh. And do you think that there's a difference between doing journalism on a completely private figure that has no public presence and no institutional power versus reporting on a powerful public institution or person?
Yes,
you still
there's a
didn't answer the
difference.
question. Is the journalist responsible for reporting for any actions that happen after the reporting?
Personally, I think that journalists should take...
There absolutely is a huge difference, by the way, if you are a massive figure shitting on a no-name person to your massive audience versus you fighting with another public figure with a proportional audience. There absolutely is a difference. Now, again, if this lady was smart, which she's clearly not, but if she were, she could take it the direction of the same direction I take it, which is simply that I don't care how big their fan base is. If they say something wrong, or if they put it publicly, like on TikTok, then they've opened themselves up to criticism still. That's kind of what I would say. I also don't think that somebody's media presence should determine whether or not they're taken seriously by other people, if that person happens to have a larger fan base or a larger following. Because technically then I could just dismiss any criticism if it came from somebody with a smaller subscriber count.
Take care and should consider sort of the framing, and I think that they should do their best not to appear as if they encourage that sort of behavior. I've noticed that you haven't necessarily publicly condemned that behavior, publicly told your supporters, listen guys, stop calling in these bomb threats.
Who said it's my followers? Do you have information that it's my followers?
I guess who else's followers would it be?
I don't know.
So
there's 300 million people in this country.
So you post bomb threats follow, and you're
Good
saying it might be
math.
just unrelated people?
I have no idea. We don't know who it is.
Have you taken steps to find out?
We filed some FOIAs with police departments. Yeah.
What have you found?
Okay.
We haven't got to.
If you post about a place, if you're like, this pizza shop sucks, and 5 minutes after that post, they receive 25 calls saying, we're going to bomb the shit out of your pizza place. Kind of reasonable to assume that although maybe you didn't tell them to go do this thing, you probably played a role there, you know? She's playing dumb.
Anything useful yet that we can use. But actually, one of them we know it's like some foreign actor, not even from the country. So who knows who it is?
Yeah. It seems like Twitter's your main platform these days, although I know you've been posting on Rumble. How much money have you made from the platform?
It's personal.
Is that what sort of portion of your revenue is based on Twitter as opposed to other platforms?
That's personal. So speaking of Twitter, do you regret not getting a blue check?
This is a weird question to ask. How much money are you making? Just weird question, okay? And then the TikTok lady responds by being like, speaking of which, are you bummed that you don't have a blue check mark or some dumb shit?
No, I don't monetize online.
I don't monetize.
Yeah, I don't. If I was an independent journalist, maybe, but I'm not. I don't monetize on any of my social platforms. I noticed you sort of, speaking of the media, you changed your approach recently, or at least it seems like you're being a little bit more antagonistic towards the media and a little bit more forceful in the way that you speak about the media. What led to that change?
Being lied about and defamed for 2.5 years.
I guess what led to, I would assume you felt like that for quite a while. What led you to sort of
But free speech.
change the way that you speak about the media, or the sort of...
Well, their attacks were ramping up. So, like I said, the lies and the defamation, the hypocrisy.
If you eradicate transgenderism, which I believe you suggested in a post today.
No, I never suggested that.
Oh, okay. You reposted a post that was advocating for that. What would happen to the people that have already medically, socially, completely transitioned and are leading happy lives? What would happen to them? I mean, what's your plan for that? If transgenderism doesn't exist, which it seems like that's what you believe, what happens to all the people living happy lives as trans people?
Well, first of all, the whole trans it's based on a lie. You can't change your gender.
Okay, but
so they could go live their life. I mean, I can't tell someone what to do in their house.
Sounds like you do want to tell people what to do in their house.
I never said that.
So you're totally okay with people being trans, just not as long as they're in public?
No, I never said that. They could. It's the whole thing is based off of a lie, and I think that
oh my god,
this lie.
She does not understand basic logic. I never said that. No one said you said that. No one is saying, this is a direct quote from you, Kaya. No one's saying that, okay? They're saying that the logical conclusion to the things you're advocating for, the logical conclusion is that you kind of do actually care what people do in their house because you don't want people to be trans. You want to abolish transgenderism. I never said that. I never said that.
Cannot be mainstream in our society.
Why?
It's a lie.
And what harm is it causing, do you believe?
I like the truth. I like truth.
Right, but I'm saying what's the harm of people expressing...
Yeah, she hasn't elaborated on anything. She makes Patrick Starr look like a genius. She's just like, it's all a lie. Lady, your brain is a lie.
Like I said, we are a nation of truth, and I seek the truth.
But I'm asking about the harm. What's the harm? You might believe it to be false, but what's
the harm is that there's a lie that is very mainstream and is being embedded into every institution.
Yeah, but
I guess I'm wondering...
You need to elaborate more, lady. You can't just say it's a lie. What if the lie that's being embedded into our institution is actually something that has a benefit? Now, I value truth also. A better argument would be that if you believe this thing to be a lie, we need to prioritize truth in order to continue having a functional society. So the harm would be accepting a lie at such a major level would lead to a breakdown of how we understand truth and whatnot, to the point that it could actually have a negative effect on society as a whole. Now, that would still be kind of dumb because that wouldn't really apply for trans stuff at all. But that would still sound a little better and be a little bit of a better argument if she wanted to make that argument. She could argue that major institutions bolstering a lie is a negative for our entire society because we need to prioritize truth. That is the best way that society continues to progress and advance. She could say that. Now, it turns out
what the material harm is.
Now, it turns out that there is actually a lot of truth behind what it means to be trans, gender being a social construct, and things of this nature. There's a whole lot of truth there. This lady, the Libs of TikTok lady, is just too dumb to see that truth, and so she believes it's a lie.
aside from it's maybe something that you disagree with, as in your version of the truth is different than their version of the truth, what is the material harm of them living their life as a woman or man or gender that you don't agree?
Not anything that's wrong is there a material harm necessarily.
So there's no harm.
I didn't say that.
So can you name a single harm?
The way that it's pushed onto kids, first of all.
Why is that?
Gender ideology, transgenderism.
But if they're leading happy lives and they just are leading a
Well, there are
different...
studies that show that they're more suicidal after transition.
No,
No, that's not true.
Yeah, there's a study out of Sweden.
That is not
No, that's
true.
what
That
the
is not
study is.
true.
Yeah, you can look up the study.
Well, taking into account all the
Okay,
happy...
no, the Swedish study is the classic study that every mother conservative uses. Oh God, I wish that I could interview this lady. So to be clear, the Swedish study was actually a study done in the 70s up to the early 2000s, and it found that after gender transition surgery, trans people still had higher rates of suicidality compared to the overall population. This is because of social discrimination and other factors. However, when you compare trans people who got gender assignment surgery to trans people who have not received gender reassignment surgery, the trans people who received the surgery have significantly lower rates of depression and significantly higher rates of overall well-being. This cannot be said for trans people who want the surgery but have not received it yet. So, first and foremost, that study did not find that trans people are more suicidal after the surgery. Didn't find that. It found that trans people still had a higher suicide rate compared to the general population. And finally, even the author of that study, the lady who did the study herself, has spoken on multiple occasions saying that her study is being misinterpreted by conservatives and that the study did not find that suicidality increases with gender-affirming care. It didn't find that. And then she went on to say how actually all the evidence says that suicidality goes down with gender-affirming care, and she's been involved in other newer studies that have proven just this. So the fact that this dumb TikTok lady would bring up the Swedish study, oh, it's embarrassing.
You can't come up with a single material harm?
So if someone says, I'll be happier if I'm blind, should a doctor pull their eyes out?
No, because there's no kind of condition behind that pulling their eyes out would ever help with. Having your sight benefits you in every way. Not having your sight would harm you in every way. There is literally no reason for that to happen. So first and foremost, there is a gender identity that is socially constructed that oftentimes can correlate to gender reassignment surgery later on. In this case, it would be sex reassignment, technically speaking. But the reason that's done is because there's a condition called gender dysphoria. There's decades of research that has found a type of treatment to be the most beneficial type of treatment for people suffering from this condition. And it just so happens that sex reassignment surgery can be beneficial.
I think that's quite different than gender ideology, but people do, I guess...
Someone says I'm happier if I chop my dick off, and we should just let them do that.
Whoa, language
I think,
lady.
there's a lot of gender-affirming care that women do, right? I mean, women ascribe to certain gender things. You see women getting boob jobs to affirm their gender. I mean, we're in Los Angeles. We see this kind of gender-affirming...
So again, you're comparing boob jobs and nose jobs to
Well, they're
people
gender-affirming.
buying into the lie that they could change their sex.
Breast enhancements are gender-affirming.
Wait, cis women get breast enhancements. That is a form of gender affirming care. And this lady just doesn't get it. TikTok Karen just right over her head.
And they're allowed to do it. And I noticed that you don't critique that. I guess I'm curious, Haya, there are a lot of people that have ideas about women, right? And about what makes a woman, right? What makes a appropriate woman? How should a woman? You're saying you're against people sort of like living lies or living outside this ideology that you've constructed. Some might say, look, we're both women over the age of 25, working. I certainly don't have kids. They might consider that not okay for a woman. Do you think it's up to that? Do you think it's okay for them to dictate how you live your life as a woman? Do you think it's up or sort of where does that line get drawn?
So again, you're comparing.
I'm taking a point from the interviewer here. She's down negative point. One negative point. That question was what? It seemed very like trying to come up with something quickly.
Boob jobs to a teenage girl chopping off her breasts.
Well, first of all, teenage girls get boob jobs, but breast enhancements are gender affirming for many women. I'm asking you, why is it that people have to live under your sort of view of gender? And
it's not my view, it's science. It's facts. It's biology.
But biology, if
Wait,
we're
this dumb bimbo, she doesn't know shit. Oh my God. She's just spouting off all the good old buzzwords, you know? Science, facts, a ghost.
I guess I'm still kind of struggling to understand how you think, if your view, say tomorrow Trump is elected, he says, all right, we're going to all live by Haya's, decisions, right? What about all these happy trans people that are living their lives? They're not harming anyone. What harm are they doing by living their life as a woman who've medically transitioned? They're adults. I understand you have problems with kids, but with adult trans people, what's the harm that they're doing to society?
To society, they're spreading a lie that is affecting children also.
So you just believe gender is...
So because they're spreading a lie, you think that they should be eradicated? Well, I have news for you, lady. I think Christianity is a lie. And you know what? A lot of really annoying motherfuckers walk around trying to spread that lie to me. Maybe we should take your approach.
Is a lie. And what if somebody said to
you can't change your gender.
And what if somebody said to you, you're not a real woman. You're not a real woman because maybe you don't...
Also, both these people are just not doing a very great job. Obviously, the TikTok lady is doing horrible explaining gender and everything else and just like spouting off buzzwords. But I feel like Taylor Lorenz here could technically be giving a little bit of a better response. Like, gender is different from sex. So for her to bring up intersex people or something when talking about gender was a little bit weird. I get that they're talking about the surgery stuff, so I don't know. I just feel like she could have tried to be more specific there, and she could have taken it in like a more solid direction. Like, she says that it's science and that it's biology or something, but it's like, well, there's such a thing as social science, and there's the study of society, literally, and how society constructs certain expectations and whatnot. Expectations that can shape gender and our perception of gender, in turn shaping an internal perception you might have of yourself. All of this plays a role in constructing what we understand as gender.
You don't meet these certain specific definitions of femininity.
That's fine. I don't care. You can call me whatever you want.
But what if you would be forced to live by that system? Do you think it's fair that you would, be forced
Is that
to
based in like science?
Well, I don't think any of it's really based in science.
Well, it is.
Gender is a
sexes.
social construct.
Well, gender is actually made up.
Exactly. Yes,
by
we agree on
someone
this. We
by,
agree.
By a child predator, by a pedophile.
We don't agree.
Yeah.
We don't agree on
So he made up gender, and now they conflate the two.
Okay, so what she's talking about, is she talking about John Money? That's the same guy? She's talking about John Money. There was like some bad, fucked up, weird person or something who like coined the term gender identity or something, and just because of that they resort to this fallacy. Mind you, it is literally fallacious. They're saying because the person who defined the term was bad, that means the concept they defined was bad. That is like the dumbest deduction you can ever make.
And they use it to basically trans kids. So there are actually two sexes, and there are 0 genders, and there are many personalities. That's what I believe.
Okay. A lot of LGBTQ people say that your posts cause an enormous amount of pain. How does that make you feel?
How does it make you feel that your reporting on me causes me pain?
I feel sad for that, honestly. Yeah.
So would you stop?
No, I'm a journalist and you're a public figure. So if somebody's posting on social media, which inherently posting on social media, you're looking for attention, right? You're saying that meets the bar for a public figure?
I'm not a lawyer.
But I'm asking your opinion.
I think that
so
these people,
easily.
well, first of all, a lot of people I post about are actually in positions that are public,
But
teachers,
I'm talking about the people that
doctors.
haven't, right? The individual private citizens that you've
Why does the video keep like lying?
posted who are not, I would argue they're not public figures. You're saying they are public figures because they're posting on social media?
They want to be public. They are public. They're going on a public platform and publicly posting a video on a social media site that is meant for your videos to go viral.
Okay, there's
And what about Twitter?
literally
Would
a
you-
way to defend yourself so much better. I'm giving both these people rhetorical lessons, but more so the TikTok lady, clearly, because Taylor is a professional journalist. She knows what she's doing. But holy crap, dude. When you're she could be easily saying well, they want to be public and viral. What? You don't know what they want? They definitely don't want to be public and viral in front of a vicious audience that hates them, invalidates their gender identity, and sends them bomb threats. Okay? Dumb fuck. Second of all, the better way to defend yourself here would simply be that They posted a video and they posted it publicly. If they had posted it privately and then, you know, I used a loophole or a fake account to like find the video and then I brought it public, I could see the concern there. But I don't care if the video has 2 views or 2 million views. It was posted publicly. That means it is open to the public and open to a public opinion of any sort. That would be the far better defense. But no, instead she's like, they wanted to be viral. What? Okay.
Every social media, if someone posts something on social media, it could go viral. It's always a risk.
Got it. So when you were building your audience and had hundreds of thousands of followers, then would you also agree that you were a public figure?
I think that if anyone who puts something out there publicly, anyone could share their stuff.
Got it. And so, but I'm saying you consider these people, LGBTQ people, who are just posting on social media public figures.
I said I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the legal
I'm just asking
definition
your
of public
opinion.
Oh my
figure.
God, I'm not a lawyer. Is she literally trying to weasel her way out of basically saying she thinks anybody with a public profile on social media is a public figure? She is such an idiot. She's so bad faith.
One thing you noted, and I'm only asking this because I know that you noted that, you know, when I reported on you, that you felt like it was unfair and that you didn't meet the bar for a public figure. So I'm just kind of wondering, as somebody with such a large social media audience, you're saying
Wait,
people which must...
said that? So when Taylor Lorenz was calling out Libs of TikTok, she was like, I'm not a public figure. That's not fair. Meanwhile, she's calling out random TikTok pages, random TikTok users with like 4 followers. What?
If anyone puts out content publicly, then that content could go anywhere. That's what I believe. You know,
She's
it could go
not getting
viral.
it.
Anyone could share it. It could go to the wrong
She's
side.
not grasping
You know, what they
it.
call the wrong side of TikTok.
Yeah.
It could go, you know, people will see it.
Someone needs to
You
be
can't
mean to
control
her.
that. That's why they hate me, because they want to create this content and
Somebody needs to just be really mean to her. Taylor is
they only
doing
want
good,
their
but
bubble to see it.
she's
And then I'm
too
like
nice.
showing it to other people and they just can't handle it.
I think you're editorializing it as well.
I provide very little.
Yeah, somebody needs to just be mean to her. Like this Taylor lady is doing a good job, but she's too nice. Way too nice. Like somebody needs to be like the minute she's like, well, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but hold on, stop. I didn't ask if you're a lawyer. Stop weaseling away from the question. It's very simple. Do you consider yourself a public figure, yes or no? Like, that's literally how you have to handle these people.
Least from any other Twitter account that's even a quarter my size.
Let's talk about drag shows.
Wow,
You
they're
know,
just
you've
gonna
come
jump
out
off the
a lot
subject.
about, you know, you're very against drag shows. Can you give any examples of children being harmed from drag shows?
Yeah, there was one where this mom was saying that her kid
All right, I'm gonna have
decided to
fix
be
this.
non-binary after watching the drag show, and then the drag queen helped the kid buy like new clothes to be non-binary.
And you consider that harmful?
Yeah, well, because non-binary is made up. Like you can't. There's no such thing as non-binary. And then
It's like, well, my kid went to literally, even if she believes it's made up, then how is that any different than going to like a costume party, dressing up as, I don't know, like a lion or something? Humans can't be lions, Timmy.
leads a kid on a path where probably they'll end up in a hospital getting some of their body parts chopped off.
You seem very against plastic surgery. Are you against?
Well, I'm against sex change surgeries.
For
What about
adults?
women that want to get their boobs done, want to get their nose done, want to get cheek implants?
We're just going to go in circles.
I'm just curious.
But it's good to note that you're comparing nose jobs to teen girls getting their breast chopped off.
Well, people often, teen girls
plastic
also get
surgery,
boob jobs to
like-
make their breasts bigger, right? So both are gender
It's
affirming in different
literally
ways.
plastic surgery. She's not comparing it. It's both a form of cosmetic surgery. Just the motive behind, the reason behind why you're doing it is different.
You seem very obsessed with one and not interested in the other. So that's kind of what I'm interested in. And I guess I don't really understand that because both are gender affirming in different ways.
I don't call it gender affirming care. I call it
Yeah, also another good question. Thank you, chat. How the did the mom, if she was complaining, make it also give permission to the drag queen to take their kids shopping? What? This drag queen then kidnapped my child with my permission for an hour and a half and went down to the local Target. Then they bought boy clothes. It was horrible.
Where do you sort of hope this will end up? You know, like all of this sort of the advocacy that you're doing. I know you said you don't have a 5-year plan for yourself, but what are some, what's if you were sort of like going to describe your platform, what are some things that you'd like to see, meaningful changes in terms of policies, laws?
Oh, I want to eradicate gender ideology from public life.
From public life completely?
Yeah, the whole thing is built on a lie.
Well, you certainly have a gender yourself.
Gender ideology? No, I don't. I have a sex. Gender. There's no such thing as gender.
Okay.
I said gender is made up. There's no such thing.
I agree that gender is a completely social construct.
No, it doesn't exist. It's
Okay.
there are zero genders. I have a sex. I'm female.
There are zero genders.
Yeah.
So you want to live in sort of a...
I literally got thrown off in the game because of how stupid this lady is. I don't have a gender, I have a sex. Wait, so does your estrogen make you put on lipstick and grow your hair out long and wear earrings? She's literally going based on like what feels kind of good. She's going based on what like feels right, feels normal. I mean, it's intuitive that like there's really just like a sex because that's like objective, but like what's a social construct? Like like she's either playing dumb or she's actually dumb. I don't know which one is worse. And at this point, I don't care because she's dumb either way. Kaya, please debate me.
Post-gender world where everybody can kind of express themselves.
Yeah, and also she is so based on eradicating gender ideology because it's a lie. There are so many other lies that are part of public life still, like Christianity. I'm going to keep going back to that because I know that if I said, well, Christianity is just a lie, you know, so it needs to be eradicated from public life, this Libs of TikTok lady would probably be going into a diabetic coma right now.
Personality however they like.
Well, that's what it is now, but they're just calling it gender.
So,
but you know, there's males and females, and then you know,
so if
there's
they were to,
infinite.
I'm just kind of curious here, and I'm certainly not a gender scholar, so I'm not sure. You know, maybe somebody sort of posed this question too. But if people were to let's just say, you know what, fine, we eliminate male, female, non-binary, whatever gender, we eliminate that. We're all just people, or we identify by our sex. Would you still be okay with people, you know, wearing dresses if, you know, they appear to be biologically male, or, you know, women shaving their head, you know, things like that? Are you still okay with that as long as they're not calling themselves by a different name?
Don't sexualize kids. That's what I'm against.
But I'm just saying, like, you want to live in a post-gender world where
this isn't answering the question, Kaya. Why are you drunk? Are you high? Are you both? Are you just twisted as right now? Doing an interview, right? Like, what the hell?
there's no gender, right? And anybody can just have the personality and express themselves however they want.
That's how it is now. These people who are calling themselves a different gender,
but I'm just saying, you're
right,
really and your issue is with the language around that, right? So I'm saying, let's eliminate the language. Right? Do you support people, adults? Let's just talk about adults for the sake of this discussion. Do you support those adults having bodily autonomy, dressing, acting, painting their nails or shaving their head or doing whatever they want to do to express themselves?
I don't care if a guy wants to paint his nails.
So you don't care about...
Leave the kids out of it. Don't sexualize the kids.
We already said there's no kids.
Speaking of sexualization of kids, I think one group of young people that's constantly sexualized is young women. What are your thoughts, and why haven't you, come out more against some of the sort of sexualization of young women, especially in the right-wing media ecosystem? There's a focus on youth in women. There's a focus on sort of women under 25, women losing value with age. This is stuff, that's been...
I'm a woman in the conservative movement. I never once felt sexualized.
You've never felt sexualized yourself, but I'm saying...
That right there tells you pretty much everything you need to know about this dumbass and how her reasoning really goes. Well, I've never felt it, so it's not real. Like, she doesn't... There's not even any thought that, like, maybe, just maybe, your experience is not the same experience as every single other woman on planet Earth. Perhaps. Is this conceivable to you?
Saying, why don't you speak out about sort of sexual abuse in the straight world, I guess?
So, you just changed topics.
No. I'm saying, like, you're saying we're against the sexualization of kids.
Yeah.
One group of children that's constantly sexualized is young women. 13-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls are constantly sexualized on the internet, often by conservatives. So I'm wondering, especially given, what some commentary has come from like people at the Daily Wire, for instance, right? They've made comments about young women losing value with age, which is kind of a pedophilic ideology. Why not speak out on that?
I've never seen that. I have no evidence.
You've never seen young women getting sexualized?
I focus on kids.
And you've never seen young girls getting sexualized?
I've seen young girls getting sexualized. I'm referring to the Daily Wire thing. I can't answer
Okay,
for that.
but let's
I focus on kids. Can we just that out of context alone is so funny. Holy shit.
just talk about young girls. Why don't you speak out about that? Why don't you speak out about sort of heteronormative cisgender men, traditional men, sexualizing young girls, young female girls?
I speak out about the sexualization of kids.
But you don't speak out about sort of the sexualization of kids by straight people.
I don't discriminate on who's sexualizing the kids.
But
if a kid's being sexualized.
Well, but there's only one group of kids that you're talking about, which is you're concerned about sort of...
Wait, is her whole thing just... So, would she even be able to have a conversation about trans ideology if, for the sake of the argument, for the sake of the discussion, it was on just whether or not adults should be able to transition? Do you think she'd even be able to have a conversation? God, yeah, why isn't she out there? Like, I mean, I don't really like the form of argumentation, to be fair. Like, well, why aren't you talking about this? However, I would be very curious to see if she would take the same fervent approach against, child beauty pageants, which are very popular in southern conservative states.
Of people being sexualized by the LGBTQ community. I'm saying a lot of straight older men.
Not necessarily the LGBTQ. I mean, if they're, I don't want straight teachers to be talking about their sexuality in schools either.
So you wouldn't be okay with a straight teacher, for instance, discussing their marriage?
I think it's weird.
Uh-huh.
Why would someone discuss their marriage in the classroom?
Honestly, I don't know. You were a teacher. I feel like teachers...
Maybe, hey, I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks because I'm getting married and then I'm going on my honeymoon. Class, here's the homework. Oh, teacher, who are you getting married to? Her name is Brenda. Uh-oh. You just brought up sexuality. Now we know you're straight. Oh my God. You basically just flashed the entire preschool. Oh my God. Dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun.
Sometimes do that, I do think that there is a sexualization of children from straight couples. I mean, I know that I went shopping for a friend recently to find little baby onesies, and when you're looking for little boy baby onesies, a lot of them say, I want, where's my mommy's tits, or whatever. You see these kind of, I would say, sexual innuendo on babies' clothes. I've never seen you post about that. I've never seen you post about sort of sexualization from the straight community, I guess.
I don't discriminate against who's doing the sexualization. Like, oh, look, here's porn in school and the librarian is not straight. No, I don't care who the librarian is. I don't care if they're straight or gay or trans or whatever they want to say they are.
Yeah, I just think it seems, I guess I wonder why you don't focus on sort of like young girls as a woman. I mean, were you ever sexualized as a young child? No. I find that interesting because I think all women kind of experience that, although it depends on your community. But I do think that there's a focus on women and age as well. And there's this notion that women lose value as they age. And I know I hear that all the time in my comments from conservatives.
I've never once seen that. Actually.
You've never seen that?
No.
You've never once seen that. You have millions of followers on Twitter, correct? I'm right? Yeah, millions, right? At least 1 million? And you've never heard that? Okay. Push F to doubt.
I've never seen a conservative figure say that women lose value when they age.
Why do you think there's such an obsession about women and ages then?
Women, I've never known there was an obsession. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Women and ages?
Yeah. There is a notion, especially platformed by conservative media, that women lose value as they get older. You see this espoused constantly when people are talking about reproductive capabilities. Oh, her eggs
You're
are
saying
dried
when
up.
they promote like family values, like, oh, you should get married and have kids? Is that what you call sexualization?
No. I'm talking about more derogatory remarks made against women and their age. I bring it up because I think a lot of your fans seem to obsess about women and ages, and so it's misogyny at its core, and I never see you speak up about that. So I was just kind of curious about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm wondering like why you don't speak up about the sexualization of kids.
I don't think it's a problem. I don't see as much. If I saw an example of a child being sexualized, of course I have a problem with, certain things. I will say.
So do you think we should give kids?
I feel like she tripped up a little bit there. She said she doesn't have a problem with that, meaning like she doesn't think it's an issue with the trans stuff, but it did sound as if she was saying she doesn't have a problem with kids being sexualized. Could have been phrased a little better.
It's porn in school, the images of like gay sex.
I went to public school, and in public school, at least when I was growing up, we were absolutely given literature.
I would really just be wanting to ask for an example. I'd be like, okay, so can you give me an example of this, please?
Explaining sex.
And then, by the way, if it's bad, you just say it's bad.
Educating people.
It had pictures of like anal sex?
Oh, absolutely. And it actually talked about condom use.
What grade?
God, I mean, I don't remember, but certainly probably middle school. I think that's when we had sex ed.
So you think like books like Genderqueer, This Book is Gay, we should give that to kids in school?
I have not read those books, so I don't know. But I do think that it's important to educate kids about sexuality, if nothing else, because you know, I have spoken to women that were abused sexually when they were young, very young. And one thing that they've told me is that they wish that they had the language to talk about it, and they weren't educated. They grew up in I only know two that I've spoken to about this, but they've grown up in sort of societies where they weren't very educated about sex ed. They didn't receive sex ed in class. They went to a Catholic school or other types of schooling. And so I do think it's really important for kids to understand sex, because as we all know, a lot of teenagers can be sexually active, and I think sex education is important to promote, you know, healthy attitudes, healthy understandings of sex. I mean, these are human bodies. You can't just expect to send kids off at 18 with absolutely no sex ed and then think that they can function in the world.
So we should give kids like pictures of gay sex in middle school and actually elementary school, some of them.
She was literally bringing up the importance of sex ed as far as like having the language for basic anatomy. Literally almost verbatim what I was saying earlier. Very weird. I did not watch this whole video either, so I really need to start betting on these things. But yeah, what? A lot of women have told me that if they had the language to describe what was going on, they would have been able to get help sooner when they were being abused. It was really terrible. That was like a really like deep emotional like thing for her to say also. And then she's like, so we should just be showing people like gay sex? The only things she can talk about, gay sex and kids.
I guess I'm wondering what you consider that. I think.
Do you want to see a picture?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, are you talking about the ones that you've posted on your Twitter account? Yeah. I guess those don't look like what I received when I did sex ed, but I think sex ed is important because it actually helps.
So you didn't have those types of things when you were in school?
Oh no, we had sex ed.
I'm saying the images I posted on my Twitter.
Did you, when you had sex ed in school, did you not get books with graphic
with
imagery?
pictures of gay sex?
I remember, I don't remember how old you are, but I grew up in the 90s when HIV and AIDS was a big thing, and we certainly learned about gay sex in school.
So those pictures I posted on my Twitter, you had graphics like that?
I actually don't know. I don't remember.
Let's Google this. Is California mandating that schools show students gay sex? Nobody other than junk news sites is saying that California should use gay pornography in elementary schools. It's false. A number of disreputable websites ran articles in 2017 falsely reporting California Governor Jerry Brown was instituting mandatory gay porn viewing in classrooms.
But I do think that it's really important to
But knowing those pictures, you seem to know very well what those pictures are. Do you think that?
I don't. I've seen
you kept referencing it.
Well, I've seen you post things, but I don't
pull
know.
It up.
But I think, I guess I feel...
Because we need to put this into context.
Yeah.
Oh no, she's gonna literally show her gay porn right now.
Well, we won't know the context, of course, because we don't know the context of how those things are being taught.
Flagged, am I?
Oh, so we could give kids like pictures of gay sex as long as it's in the proper context?
I don't know. I mean, it's up to the educator to determine, right? I don't know. I guess I'm kind of curious, Kaya, why?
I would take the position that like generally that's pretty graphic and probably not necessary. If that's taking place in schools, then I think it's fair to just, you know, have people have an understanding about gay people and things like this, and you don't need to show graphic images of gay sex or something for people to have an understanding. Even if you're educating people about gay sex, you don't need to necessarily have pictures of it. That would, I guess, like the optically correct it, like the best take, the one that would get through to her the most there, I feel like would be one of that nature.
Why you sort of focus so much about the LGBT? You keep mentioning gay sex, but you don't mention straight sex. Why is there such a focus on the LGBTQ world?
Oh, I don't want pictures of sex in school. Any pictures.
So you don't think children should receive any sort of sex education, straight or gay?
I said I don't want pictures of sex in school.
But you think that they should receive picture-free sex education?
No, I think we discussed this earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious
So
kind
no
of how
sex
you're
ed,
thinking,
even if
you know,
it
when you
wasn't
think about the way that you put out content and the way that you think about growing your media empire.
Here, this is a blowjob.
I don't know what book this is from.
Genderqueer.
Okay.
So should this picture of a blowjob be in elementary schools?
I've never seen a book like that in elementary schools, but I have no idea.
It has been. I
Okay.
posted about it, yeah.
So tell me a little bit
So
about...
should it be in elementary schools?
I have no idea the context. I have no idea.
So
the
in what context is it okay if it would?
What's the book called? Should that be in an elementary school? To be honest, probably not. I definitely wouldn't want my kids at an elementary age reading stuff like that just because that is pretty graphic.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit
So
about...
should it be in elementary?
The book is genderqueer and it's not in elementary schools. Okay, let me look this up. Describes experiences as a non-binary teen and young adult discovering their identity and struggles that accompanied that discovery. Okay, yeah, I don't really like any cartoon or anything really depicting people that young doing sex stuff. That's a little... Ugh, that's creepy. Okay, is it in elementary schools? The NEA did recommend genderqueer to its members, but it titled its list as being for educators, and has since clarified in an editor's note that this was recommended reading for adults, not students. We rate the claim that it was recommended for kids false. I just can't believe the Libs of TikTok lady is lying again. So even if it were in the libraries, again, that would be like individual libraries, maybe like not vetting the books close enough or something, but it was never meant for kids to read.
So then you're okay with it?
I think I would want to talk to the sex educator and rely on whatever the sex educators say.
Okay.
I'm wondering why you feel like you're qualified to be a sex educator when you have no background in that.
I don't want to be a sex educator. I just don't want to give kids porn in school.
I totally understand.
So remember how her whole thing was transgenderism and gender ideology needs to be abolished. Why? Because it was based on a lie. And now her whole crusade for banning these books is literally based on a lie. We just looked it up. It was never recommended for students. It was never meant for kids to be reading that book. Oh my gosh. She cares so much about lies when it comes to trans people, yet she doesn't give a single flying f about lies when she's the one blabbering them. So pathetic.
Stan, tell me a little bit more about sort of, just to change topic, about your content world. You put out a lot, you've got a whole staff now. How do you see your business growing, and what areas would you like to expand into?
I'm not going to get into my business strategy.
Do you see yourself, I've noticed that you've been doing more video content. Are you leaning harder into Rumble?
I like doing video content.
Do you have a partnership with Rumble?
No.
Would you?
Maybe.
What are your thoughts on sort of the way that Twitter has evolved?
I love Twitter. It's the best. I love Elon. Elon rocks.
Have you spoken to Elon?
Saved free speech. Not like on the phone.
Elon saved free speech? There's literally still TOS on the platform. People literally get banned for saying like hate speech and shit. What a simp.
Phone.
Elon
would you meet
simp.
with him?
Yeah.
What's
been your kind of criticism of Elon, because you're outspoken against Elon?
I'm a huge supporter of free speech and free expression, and I haven't liked the way that Elon has kind of arbitrarily banned journalists. I think that's a little concerning.
Who did he ban?
Oh, many. I mean, he banned, I think he banned Tyler Brown, the researcher. He banned, obviously, myself, Drew Harwell, other journalists.
So how do you feel about all of the conservatives that were being banned left and right when Jack Dorsey had Twitter?
I'm of the personal opinion, and I've said this on Twitter and many times, that, look, it's up to every private platform to set their own community guidelines. I'm not a huge believer in permanent bans. And I've always said that. And I defend that in the sense that these platforms evolve and people's usage of them evolve and people evolve. As you just said, you weren't even you were a completely private citizen 5 years ago. You had no political ideology. Now you have a political ideology. You're a very different person.
So when I got banned from Twitter, you were upset at that? Like you thought that was wrong?
I don't remember you getting banned from Twitter.
I got banned a few times. Not permanently, but
previous to Elon.
Yeah.
My feeling about any bans is that there should be a path to redemption, should you say. That doesn't mean that I don't think that it's in the right prerogative to ban people for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. I just personally feel like if you're going to issue lifetime bans, you should give people a path to abide by community guidelines. If you join back on and you break community guidelines again, look, that's on you. But personally, I think that, that's just my belief, and I've talked about that for years. I think that there should be a path to abiding by. If somebody says, hey, look, I know I broke community guidelines, I know what I was posting was wrong, and in sort of violating those rules, I could see tech companies allowing that back. And actually, that's what Elon has done, right? I mean, he reinstated all those people that were permanently banned.
Elon is the greatest free speech warrior, I think, of all time.
Okay.
He's if what this lady is saying, if what Taylor is saying here is true, he's arbitrarily banning journalists. And he's the greatest freedom of speech warrior of all. She literally only cares because Elon is letting conservatives call the shots now. That's the only reason why.
Well, I try to think what else. I feel like I've gotten through
Yeah,
most
I think
of these
that's
things.
it. I think we're good.
What else do you have going on?
Nothing much, I'll just continue making fun of the media like I do best.
I still can't, I don't think you answered me to begin with, but what are some of your favorite media outlets?
I said I like independent journalists.
But who?
Like some of the people I follow on Twitter have the best news.
Like who? Like who are your top three?
I would say, first of all, I love Daily Wire. I like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh. I like everything they do. What are your top media place for news?
404 Media. love 404 Media. Are you familiar with them?
No.
Great website. Independent journalists. Walter Bragman, who does Important Context.
I'm sorry, I'm still processing her list of people she likes to listen to and follow on Twitter. Her list of people she likes to listen to is coincidentally the exact same as my list of people that, if the purge ever happened, then no, I'm just kidding. But seriously, she just listed off like the most annoying people ever. Map Walsh. I really like him. He makes a lot of really good points against the transgenders.
Great Substack writer. Huge fan of his work. God, there's so many. Matt Bellamy, Lucas Shaw, Julia Alexander. Yeah, great people. Yeah, try to see. I feel like that's it. I'm just trying to think.
Let's get an Uber and get out of here. I'm gonna order an Uber.
Awesome. All right, let's make sure. Let's see. I know. Sorry. Thank you so much. Let's see. Oh my God, I think this died. Oh my God, it did. Wait, let's see.
Oh, okay. I guess that's the end. Finally.
If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a member today. Members get early access to videos, access to all the stream VODs, and exclusive access to emotes as well. So if you'd like to support the channel, become a member today.